4 months ago, in Seattle, Washington, the world was introduced to the latest in a long line of world-class Soviet gymnasts. Vitaly Sherbo. He wasn't the only dominant Soviet in Seattle. World champion Svetlana Boginskaya set the standards for the women. Will we see a repeat performance tonight? The Americans will counter with youth, hoping to dethrone their Soviet counterparts. Their hosts, the once dominant Japanese, look to prevail in their homeland. It's the Chunichi Cup from the land of the rising sun, tonight on U.S. Olympic Gold. The top talent in the world. Back in 1976, Nadia Comaneci was crowned champion here. 7 years later, it was Mary Lou Retton. And the headliners in 1990 include the Soviets. 1989 world champion Svetlana Boginskaya and the star of the Goodwill Games, Vitaly Sherbo. And America's Trent Demas, one of the hopes of a young U.S. squad. A little later in the hour, we'll update you on the comeback efforts of 34-year-old Kurt Thomas, a world champion gymnast in the late 70s. He's taking aim at the Summer Games in 1992. But right now, it is time for the Chunichi Cup from Japan. Best way to get there? A couple hours on the bullet train from Tokyo to Nagoya. And that's where we hook up with Jim Simpson and Tim Daggett.
That is the Nagoya Castle, first built in the early 17th century, destroyed by bombs and fire in 1945. The reconstruction was completed in 1959. And it is very near the site of our competition today in Nagoya, Japan, the 21st annual Chunichi Cup. And hello, everyone, I'm Jim Simpson, along with Tim Daggett. Yes, it's gymnastics time again. The last time we talked to you, we were at the Goodwill Games with gymnastics, and the Soviet Union had the same pair there, the tops in the world, that we're going to see here.
Sure, Boginskaya for the women, she's fabulous. She's been around, she's a true proven champion. And of course, Sherbo, their up-and-coming superstar. He was unbelievable at the Goodwill Games, and I think we'll see the same here.
And obviously what we heard at Tacoma is not true. Boginskaya has not retired, as she said she was going to do. The American team, though, is much different. The only familiar name to most is Trent Demas.
That's right. He is the only one with legitimate international experience. Hopefully, he'll be able to share some of that with his teammates.
And what about the Japanese? For so many years, they were the strength of world gymnastics. And this is a Chunichi Cup. This is their star of competition. They are intent on doing well here.
Well, when you talk about Japanese gymnastics, especially on the men's side, you have to look at tradition. They have the champions, they have the history, they have some unbelievable moments in the sport of gymnastics, and this is basically their last stronghold. They've had a major falling off in the past few years, but the Chunichi Cup is something they want to have around for a long, long time.
And this is where it will take place. You're looking inside the Aichi Gymnasium. All of the competitors you will see during our show tonight have qualified from the all-around, including the world champion of a year ago. There she is, Svetlana Boginskaya.
And Svetlana will be showing us her winning vault. This is not her best event. However, it was good enough to bring home the gold here. She'll be doing a full twisting, laid out Yurchenko, excellent push, and just a small step on the landing.
At the Goodwill Games, she said she was going to retire. We asked her, why didn't you retire?
Well, of course, I had been thinking about retiring from gymnastics, but then I thought I probably could still do pretty well and be competitive.
For Boginskaya, being competitive means more gold medals. Tim, if the vault was not her best event and she won it, this is one of her better events as she goes to the balance beam.
And she is wonderful on the balance beam. Beautiful sense of theatrics throughout this entire exercise. Her acrobatic sequence there, back handspring to 2 back layout step outs. Flawless. Those skills, of course, leaps, a requirement on the balance beam as well. Now this skill is also a requirement. You have to do a skill down close to the beam. That fulfills that requirement. She has very quick, very almost spasmodic-like movements with her arms at times. A distinctive style to her own. Another requirement there, a full turn on one leg. Well, she's working marvelously thus far. No apparent deductions whatsoever. Her dismount, a round-off double back, and oh boy, she just rivets that landing.
Remember what she said, I think I can stay competitive. She certainly can.
Well, let's take a look, Jim, at just how competitive she is. Here's her dismount, a double back, excellent push off the beam. The only small deduction is her legs are a little bit straddled there, but look at the landing. Nails it cold.
A small deduction is all she got, Tim. A 9-9 from the judges. And so they're asking in Nagoya the same question they've been asking around the world for many years. Who can catch Svetlana Boginskaya? Back to Nagoya in the Aichi Gymnasium in a moment. For everyone to try to catch by Boginskaya, but 16 years old.
Oh, a small break right from the start. Here's a beautiful scale position. Certainly is a tall bill to fill. A 9-9 is no easy score to match, let alone beat. Oh, but that is wonderful. That is her own skill. An Arabian dive roll. And she does what's called a mounter out of it. Beautiful combination there, using both dance and acrobatic elements. These balance beam routines are between 70 and 90 seconds long. They must be that duration. She has a lot of unique combinations and elements in this routine. Very animated exercise. Nice element right on the end of the beam. She must complete her dismount here. A round off, triple full. Oh, doesn't quite get it around. Has to take a little bit of a stumble at the end there and doesn't quite finish the twist completely, Jim. Let's take a look at one of her acrobatic movements. That's a back handspring step out into a back layout step out. Done very well.
Henrietta Onadi of Hungary gets a 9-8 from the judges, 1/10 of a point behind the world champion. And now here's yet another Soviet. This is Tatiana Lysenko, only 15 years old and a real comer.
She is amazing. This girl has some power, that is for sure. The thing that is so impressive about the Soviets is they just keep turning out the gymnasts. They're so young, and yes, they're powerful, but they're also beautiful dancers. The extension of the legs and the toes, wonderful. That skill called a front aerial. Now watch this. This is amazing. A back dive to a handstand and just explodes in the air.
It may be apples and oranges, Tim, but it's like Penn State with linebackers. When you speak of gymnasts, where do the Soviets get them all?
It is remarkable. They just have such a wealth of talent in that country. Like you said, this girl, 15 years old. And look at the level of accomplishment already. Beautiful use of the arms. A wonderful aesthetic sense on the balance beam. Dismount, a round off double back. Oh, and just a little bit of a stumble on the landing, but beyond that, oh, fabulous job.
At Barcelona time, you'll hear the name Tatiana Lysenko, barring an injury.
She is so powerful, so explosive. Look at the height off the beam. Once again, just a slight straddle in the air, and of course, the small step on the landing.
The score for Tatiana, 9.775. That'll give her the bronze to take back to the Ukraine. Boginskaya, the Soviet, 9-9. The world champion wins it. Onadi of Hungary is second and gets the silver. And now let us move over to the men. And here's yet another Soviet, Alexander Kolyevanov. And he is from the Dynamo Club in Moscow, and that's like playing for the old-time Yankees of Murderers Row. As we move to the men's parallel bars, Tim.
A lot of history at that club, that's for sure, Jim. And we'll see one of their up-and-coming superstars. The coaching staff in the Soviet Union has great hopes for this young man. Look at that skill. It's called a stutz to a front somersault. Very difficult. He has a wonderful line in gymnastics. There's another original skill, a stutz to one bar. Beautiful tosses to the handstand. His dismount, double pike, and he just nails it. What an exercise. The thing that is so amazing, Jim, is you look at his face when he's done, he's not even tired. Beautiful giant to a handstand. Now watch this stutz, and he does a front flip right to the upper arm position.
Not new to international competition, as you know, Tim, Alexander won the Junior European Champion way back in 1986. And here he is at age 19 looking ahead to Barcelona and for the moment to the Chunichi Cup gold medal. Alexander Kolyavanov of the Soviet Union. Now let us take a look at our first Japanese that we've seen. And here's Yoshi Hatakeda. And the question is, are the Japanese on the way back, and is this a real bona fide hope for them?
Well, they certainly do have some young up-and-comers themselves. He'll start off with a very dynamic skill. This is a peak straddle cut catch, a D-rated element. Now watch this. Beautiful front uprise and a double front. Look at the height. Incredible. My only criticism is he actually has a part of no value, which will be a small deduction immediately following that major skill. Diamondov full turn, a little bit of a problem there, had to arch his back, off balance just a bit. His dismount, a double pike, and a slight slide backwards. Good exercise, though, Jim.
Yoshi Hatakeda, age 18, from Osaka.
Let's take a look at his major release skill on the parallel bars now. Watch this. 1 3/4 front flips in the air, and right there, he pushes away, and that skill has no value, hence the deduction.
And he only gets a 9.762. Here is, well, every time I see Vitaly Sherbo, I think of Tacoma in the Goodwill Games. I can't help it. I see him, and I just remember what he did out there.
Well, he is fabulous. One of the great stars, not only of the future, but of today. Watch this skill. This is called a giant to a Diamondov, a D-rated skill. There's another D skill, or most difficult, of course. Every time we see him, he gives us a clinic. No matter what event he's on, he's flawless. Beautiful back toss to a handstand. Dismount, double pike. And what can you say? He nails it.
I cannot help but look ahead to 1992 and Barcelona. Vitaly Sherbo is going to be a big story there.
His dismount, 2 flips in the pike position, toes extended, and he just rocks the landing.
You know, Tim, I might even disagree with the judges here. I think he did better than what they thought. 9.850, still good enough for the gold. Kolyavanov of the Soviet Union is second, and Hatakeda of Japan is third in the parallel bars. Coming up next, the women's uneven bars, and our first look at the team from China as we speak to U.S. competitor Jia Guo from the mainland of China.
And she is remarkable on this event. Elbows so extended. Watch this here. That skill right there called a Voronin. She is the first woman I've ever seen perform that skill on the uneven bars. Of course, done first on the men's high bar. That skill also called a reverse hecht or Tkachev. Beautiful full pirouette and a double back. Just a small hop on the landing.
Little Jia Guo, 16 years old, from Changsha on the mainland.
So dynamic on this event. And her elbows and arms so extended, so straight. Beautiful reverse hecht. Swings right back to the handstand. That skill right there, a full pirouette, and she went right into her dismount.
And her score, 9.850. This is Kyoko Seo. She's just a bullet train ride away from up in Tokyo, 18 years old. First time we've seen her tonight.
Hard to believe that that face is an 18-year-old gymnast, isn't it, Jim?
Looks awfully young.
Well, small mistake right from the start, Jim. When she jumped up on the bars, you noticed her legs were a little bit apart. We're noticing the Japanese are doing some dynamic gymnastics. Beautiful front flip, way in the air. They just don't seem to have the polish quite yet. Like right there, wonderful Tkachev, that reverse hex skill. But you notice that the toes aren't too extended. But wow, full twisting double somersault, actually called a Sukahara, named after her coach, as a matter of fact, right there, a former great gymnast, Mitsu Sukahara. Let's watch her release skill. This is a front flip way in the air, but the leg form not as tight as it needs to be in this level competition.
Her score, Tim, 9.825. That puts her behind Jia Guo of China in second place. But here comes yet another Soviet, that 15-year-old Tatiana Lysenko, a favorite for 1992 and a favorite in this event, especially since Boganskaya has scratched.
She is so outstanding on this event. Perfectly straight arms. Beautiful Ginger right there. Now watch this. Another front flip way in the air. You'll notice the girls have to move from one bar to another. They're allowed only to do 4 moves in a row on one bar and then have to switch to the other bar. Watch this dismount. Double front with a half twist, and she nails it.
Tatiana Lysenko, who was the 1990 World Cup champion.
This exercise is so difficult. Look at this. Beautiful front flip way in the air. Leg and toe form as extended as can be. A skill called a free hip right to the handstand. And like I said, you have to change from bar to bar.
Lysenko gets a 9.850, and that ties her with Jia Guo of China. And the next two are tied. Anodi of Hungary and Sei of Japan tied at 9.825. Very close. Coming up next from Nagoya, Japan, will be the men's high bar. But now from Nagoya, let's go to Atlanta and Ernie Johnson.
All right, thank you, Jim and Tim. Much more still to come from Nagoya, where Vitaly Sherbo of the Soviet Union has been practically unbeatable while staging some pretty fair duels with countryman Alexander Kolyanov. In the pommel horse, it was Sherbo edging out Kolyanov for the gold. Moving to the vault, check out the scores here. Could not get much tighter as Kolyanov, who just turned 19, strikes gold with Sherbo right there on his heels. And in the floor exercise, it was Sherbo, the 1990 European champion, the winner of 4 gold medals at Goodwill. Certainly one of the world's finest gymnasts at the age of 18, winning yet another gold. And the guy he's been battling throughout the competition, Alexander Kolyanov, settling for the bronze in the floor exercise. Certainly a dominant Soviet performance in Nagoya, and there's been more of the same in Stuttgart, Germany at the DTB Pokal meet. Valery Belenki, the Soviet who won the men's title in the Chunichi Cup last year, took the all-around title in Stuttgart, besting his better-known countryman, Igor Korobchinsky, the reigning world champion in the all-around. Now to track and field and the freaking comeback. Our Nicole Watson reports tonight that while there have been roadblocks, Thomas remains focused on the 92 Summer Games.
At the age of 24, Kurt Thomas was a 3-time world champion. He was on top of men's gymnastics, but he retired in 1980 due to an Olympic boycott, nagging injuries, and potential financial opportunities. A decade later, the illustrious career that threw Kurt into the celebrity spotlight is now calling him back.
Well, the priority is the Olympics, and the, I guess, empty part of my career is the fact that I never got a chance in the Olympics other than '76 when I was virtually inexperienced internationally to go for a medal. And, you know, prior to the Olympics in 1980 and prior to that boycott, I was second, really, in the all-around going in and in the world. And, you know, that was my time to shine.
Kurt's former college roommate and coach, Lee Battaglia, was one of the main influences in coaxing him out of retirement and back into the limelight.
I knew it was out there with our national team, and I think they're very, very good. It's just that Kurt has a lot to offer the sport, and I think that he never really reached his potential in 1980. And after seeing the championships of the USA in '89, you know, that's when I went back and approached Kurt again and asked him and said, you know, what do you think about this? There's a good chance that you will make our team, if not being #1 again. What do you think? And then we just kind of went from there.
I've never been more excited about gymnastics than I am now. I am inside like a 15-year-old. I was more nervous for my first competition than any competition I've ever been in my life. I am more excited about all of this. I'm fired up. I mean, this is like a dream come true for me.
But as in all dramas, the star must overcome conflict. Kurt was leading the compulsories at the Wisconsin Open qualifier when he injured his right ankle at the optional vault exercise. 2 weeks later, he had to withdraw from the Winter National Championships and his chance to make the national team.
except for my ankle, I am in very, very good physical condition. And, you know, I had surgery on my shoulder and I've had a couple little setbacks. A freak accident with a bar fell on my hand, and I had some tendon problem in my hand. Little injuries that have nagged me but have not really hurt me. This thing has stopped me altogether. It was frustrating today because I'm ready now, and I know there's a place for me right now on this team. And I'm just going to have to bite the bullet, wait 6 months, and fortunately I can compete in 6 months at the Championships of the USA.
So why is a 34-year-old so driven to return to amateur competition after being gone so long?
Because I can. I can do this. I've been put in a situation where I'm able to do it. I'm confident in the fact that I will do it, and I'm not going to waste this body to just sit around and hang out and watch gymnastics anymore. I've been able to prove to myself that I can get out on the floor and I can do it again. And the basic answer is I can.
So Kurt Thomas with some obstacles to overcome. Lack of confidence, though, not one of those. Time now for more gymnastics from Nagoya, Japan. Let's go back to Jim Simpson and Tim Daggett.
Thanks, Ernie. Nagoya, Japan has long been known for its beautiful castle, but it has much more than that to offer. Sister city of Los Angeles, California. It's among the top 10 seaports in the world and is a major industrial center. With a population of approximately 2.15 million people, it is the thriving capital of the Aichi Prefecture. It's a cosmopolitan city of youth and development. But the ancient Oriental traditions live on here in Nagoya. One tradition of our day is the Chunichi Cup, and we are back at the Aichi Gymnasium for more gymnastics. And now let's move to the high bar, Tim, and with the first time we have seen an American here is Mark Warburton of Lincoln, Nebraska.
Of course, a member of that powerful Nebraska Cornhusker squad. Mark does a lot of skills done in the opposite grip. Here's his major release, a one arm into a Ginger salto. That's a D-rated skill. Of course, those D skills give you those added bonus points. There's another one of those wrong grip skills called a stalter. Makes it a little bit more difficult. His dismount, a double layout, a little bit of a form break in the air, and just a small hop on the landing.
Mark is one of our veterans, 22 years old, and his teammate over here is Trent Demas.
Well, Mark worked very well in this exercise. His difficulty might not be good enough to secure him a medal on this event. I would say probably not. A good double layout, just a little bit early on the release, and has to take that hop forward.
And not a good score at all, 9.662 for Mark. Here is Daisuke Nishikawa, 20 years old, from Tokyo, and he has been in gymnastics for 15 years of his 20.
And Jim, as we said at the top of the show, Japan has a long tradition of great gymnasts. Here's one of their young hopes to bring it all back to the country of the rising sun. He shows us a Tkachev. Now he'll do it with his legs together, much more difficult. Does it very well. This skill called a stalter to a blind turn. And now he'll show us one of the requirements on high bar. These are called dorsal grip giants. His dismount, a full twisting double layout. Oh, nails the dismount.
Nishikawa from just up the road a piece in Tokyo, Japan. On the high bar here in the Chunichi Cup in Nagoya.
You know, he really didn't knock your socks off. Let's take a look at this release. Nice straddle Tkachev, but not as difficult as some of the releases that we've seen thus far. Here's his second major release. This one a little more difficult.
Good enough to move him into first place with a 9.825, well ahead of Mark. And that will bring up from Beijing, Ma Jin, age 20, and one of China's hopefuls.
And he is outstanding on the high bar. He'll do a skill named after one of my 1984 teammates, Mitch Gaylord. Does it as well as can be done. Beautiful swing right through the handstand. Once again, called a Stalder. Here's that Gaylord. Way in the air. Wow. That's phenomenal. So hard to describe how critical the timing is on a skill like that. His dismount. He's doing a big one. This is a triple somersault. 1, 2, 3 flips. Oh, and just a small hop forward. Wow, that was a great exercise.
The Chinese, as they are in diving, are coming on in gymnastics, and Ma Jin is one of their biggest hopefuls.
Look at this skill. Look at the height. 5 feet above the bar, 1 3/4 flips, and just grabs the bar like it's nothing.
Well, Tim, he'll have to settle for second, a 9.8. Remember, Nishikawa's 9.825. And that brings us to the familiar face of Trent Demas, now out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the other member of the American team here for the men at the Chunichi Cup.
And this is Trent Demas's playground. He loves this event, and he is exciting. His first major skill. This is a Kovacs. He's got it. His next release combination, that's a reverse hecht right into a Ginger.
He's got the crowd.
He has such a fast and invigorating style when he's on high bar. He'll also do a triple back somersault. 3 flips. Oh, and he almost nailed it. Just a small hop on the landing. But that was a great exercise.
Trent Demas coming off the Goodwill Games in Tacoma last summer, a member of the silver medal team.
Let's look again at his second release combination. That's a reverse hecht right into a Ginger. Done beautifully.
Tim, I'm listening to you talk. I'm watching Trent, but the judges have posted the mark, and it's a disappointing 9.787. Where did he go wrong?
Well, you know, there were a few minor form breaks, but he had by far the most difficulty. I think he should have gotten a little higher score.
He's going to go back to Albuquerque with the bronze because Nishikawa has given the Japanese what they wanted, a gold medal in the Chunichi Cup. He is first. Ma Jin of China is second. Coming up in a moment, Boginskaya is back in the floor exercise. In young Kyoko Seo, she already has a medal as we join the women's floor exercises.
She does a very difficult mount. Full twisting double somersault. Excellent power on the floor exercise. Her movement's very quick, very deliberate. A lot of playful theatrics in this routine, but maybe not quite enough of the basic or classical ballet or dance training. That takes a little bit of time to develop. Her second major tumbling pass done very well. The whip through to a double pike. A combination. She just doesn't seem to be as comfortable when she's dancing as when she's tumbling, and that's what makes the Soviets and some of the Chinese gymnasts really stand out. Yeah, they tumble great, but they also dance equally as well. She's thinking about only an acrobatic pass here. Her dismount, double back somersault, beautifully done, way in the air. Excellent job.
Kyoko Seo, we can't get over the fact she is 18 years old. She looks much younger, and she's looking for a medal in the floor exercise.
As I said throughout this routine, tumbling is not the problem. Beautiful whip through to a double back in the pike position and a good landing.
Her score, 9.825. From Tempe, Arizona, age 16, Elizabeth Crandall, in her first ever major international competition. Preparing for the floor, we ask her about her floor routine.
It's kind of a new routine, but I'm very confident with it because I practiced a lot of them before the meet, and I had done so many that I wasn't really nervous about the meet.
And this is her routine in the floor exercise.
She has a very different style in her routine. Almost an Egyptian-looking style. Very lively and energetic. Right into a full twisting back handspring there. Crisp, sharp movement. We'll look at her tumbling pass here. This is a 4.5 twisting somersault right through to a double back. Extremely difficult. Just a little bit too much of what we call cowboying in gymnastics, the straddling of the legs during that double somersault. But a very difficult pass. As I said, a very different style. Dismount here, a round-off back handspring, double somersault once again. She needs a lot of height, and she gets it. Good job for Elizabeth.
She said she was very confident about this routine, but you've got to be nervous, Tim, when you have your first ever international competition such as the Chunichi Cup.
Oh, she walks out on the floor, and I can guarantee you her heart is beating a little faster than normal. It better be, though, to do a tumbling pass like this. 1.5 twists through to a double back somersault. A lot going on.
Do not know whether or not her score will be good enough to get a medal. 9.750 for Elizabeth Crandall of Tempe, Arizona. Next up, Boganskaya, the world champion. We asked her, what does a world champion think about as she's about to take the floor?
Well, usually I try not to think about anything at all. I try not to think about gymnastics.
Well, Jim, I have to tell you, when I was doing the sport, I like to think about exactly what I was doing. I think the point she was trying to make is it's almost ingrained exactly what she'll do the second she steps out on the floor. Like that. A full in, back out in the pike position. Done wonderfully.
Already has 1 gold medal here in the Chunichi Cup and looking for number 2.
Svetlana has outstanding use of her arms and hands in this exercise. She uses them to accent all of her movements. Many have said she's brought the artistic element back to the sport of women's gymnastics. Her second pass, a 1.5 through to a double full. Watch this, changes direction, does a punch front right out of it. So expressive on the floor exercise. Paints a picture with her body. Her dismount, a double back somersault, beautiful height, and a great landing. Fabulous routine.
Magnificent, but not unexpected. After all, she was a silver medalist in Seoul in the 1988 Olympic Games.
Let's take a look at her dismount again. A round-off back handspring, double back somersault. Not only is she graceful, but athletic as well.
The highest score of the Chunichi meet thus far, 9.925 for Svetlana Boganskaya, the world champion. She takes the gold medal. Lysenko, the 15-year-old, also from the Soviet Union, is second, and Seo of Japan is third. Elizabeth Crandall finished 6th. When we come back, the strength of the gymnastics, the rings. Next up from Tokyo, Japan, Toshiharu Sato, who won the bronze in 1988 in Seoul.
Toshi, a very dynamic young man on the still rings. He'll start off with a major strength part, this skill called a back roll, right into a cross or an Azarian. Frozen in time. Dislocate, shoot to a handstand. You must swing to a handstand on the still ring, and you must also press to a handstand. But here's his major swing combination. 2 skills right in a row called Yamawaki, named after a famous Japanese gymnast. An additional strength part on the rings, also an iron cross. And here is that requirement I spoke of earlier, the press to a handstand. He must just finish with a big dismount. Full twisting double layout. Oh, and he nails it. That's a great exercise.
Sato has given everybody something to shoot for as we await the judges' verdict on his performance.
Watch this swing combination. Like I said, double whippets or Yamawakis, 2 in a row, and just flies up to the handstand.
Editorial comment, I thought his score was better than 9.750, but that's what he gets, 9.750. Here's Mark Warburton. 6 in the all-around in the 1990 U.S. Championships from Lincoln, Nebraska.
Is this a trend in men's gymnastics to start out with your biggest strength move right out of the box? And that's a kip to an L cross for Mark Warburton. This, another strength part, called the straddle flange. And he fulfills his press requirement as well. The same sequence we just saw from the Japanese gymnast. Mark does it equally well. His dismount, a double layout, and a great landing. Perfect.
Tremendous. Mark has got to be happy with that routine.
Yeah, this is Mark's best event. Watch this swing combination. 2 pike double whippets right in a row and swings right up to the handstand and just freezes it.
The judges say Sato was better. He had a 9.750. Mark gets a 9.612 for this routine.
His dismount, a double layout, just a slight form break in the air, but he just rocks the landing.
Repeat the score, 9.612, and apparently Mark will not get a medal in this particular event either. Now, for one of the few times in recent international competition where I have been, Tim Daggett, I say from Italy. Our next, Ruggero Rosato.
And whereas our last 2 ring performers, we've seen quite a bit of the swing elements, we'll see a tremendous amount of strength in this exercise. You know, Jim, 30 years ago on this event, it was predominantly strength. Virtually no swing involved, and the better gymnasts at this point are doing 3, sometimes even 4 major strength parts. He starts off with a dislocate shoot to an inverted cross, then falls into a backup rise right into that cross again, a Maltese, and the traditional iron cross. I don't know about you, Jim, but that makes me tired just looking at it. His required press to a handstand, and of course he has to swing as well. That a backup rise to handstand, or giant swing. His dismount, also a full twisting double layout, and boy, these guys must have magnets in their feet tonight, Jim.
Tim, where does Italy stand in the world of international gymnastics? I've seldom heard an Italian gymnast name called.
Well, they had a fabulous gymnast a number of years back named Minichelli. In the past few years, they're definitely on the upswing, though. A beautiful full twisting double layout there. However, you noticed his legs straddled a little bit, and that will be a deduction.
But the judges loved him, 9.750. He is now tied with Toshiharu Sato for the lead. Still to come, Trent Demas of the United States, and of course, a man who's already won a gold medal, Vitaly Sherbo of the Soviet Union. Back to Nagoya in a moment. Demonstrating sumo wrestling with one another, trying to knock each other out of the ring. But now a man trying to win the rings is Vitaly Sherbo, already with a gold medal in hand, looking for number 2 here in the Chunichi Cup.
And as we've said all day long, this guy is amazing. This one of his most innovative exercises, a truly full-dimensional performance here. Start off and show us a nice kip to an L. And now his strength part, or press to a handstand. That's a straight, very difficult. He lowers down into a skill called a legs together flange. And his rendition of the iron cross. Now watch this. He twists the rings a series of times. Remarkable. That's all his own. His dismount, a full twisting double layout once again, and just nails the landing.
The score he must beat is 9.750, owned by Sato of Japan and Rosato of Italy.
Well, the thing that's so great about this exercise, Jim, is he does everything. He shows us the strength, beautiful swing. Of course, he nails the dismount here, and that innovative sequence midway through the exercise.
Tim, he had to beat a 9.750, as we said, and he has done it. No surprise there. 9.775 for Vitaly Sherbo, looking for his second gold. Looking for a medal and possibly a gold, but this is not his best event. Trent Demas of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And yes, this would certainly be a tall order for Trent to fulfill. As you said, this is not his best event, and he's doing quite a few new elements in this routine. I was on tour with Trent just recently. He had some problems with these elements. He does a combination very similar to the turning that you saw Sherbo do just moments ago. Starts off with a very impressive back roll to an iron cross mount. Now here's his press to a handstand. That skill is called a hollow back. Of course, a requirement on the rings to press to the handstand. Maybe a little bit short on that iron cross hold. You must hold it a minimum of 2 seconds. Now here's the turning sequence we talked about. We saw it from Sherbo, and he's run into a little bit of a problem right there. Very difficult sequence. Another problem there, anytime you see the elbows or arms bend, it's a deduction. And he decides to do just a double tuck dismount.
And so the gold medal will go to Sherbo, of course, and the question remains, how poorly did Trent do? That was not a good routine.
Yeah, this is not going to bring home a big score. Very interesting sequence. The same sequence we saw from Sherbo, just nowhere near enough swing to get him up to the handstand without the bend of the arms.
And it is reflected in the score, Tim. The judges give Trent Demas an 8.975.
God, choking the whole way. Oh, God. Oh, well.
Trent kind of summed it up for us there, didn't he? The American team has not done that well at all. Sherbo wins his second gold medal. He and Boganskaya have dominated. In the still ring, Sherbo the winner. Sato and Rosato tied for second. That statue commemorates a cheerleader of sorts for labor used in building this Nagoya